Welcome to Mike's Motorworx, and today we start part one of turning our Barracuda into a chicken. That's right, we're going to get this thing on a rotisserie, but first we need to build the rotisserie. It all happens right now here on Mike's Motorworx. 2 weeks ago, we went to, and I say we, I got Pop sitting over here is kind of supervising today. We went to Pensacola and drove from our area to Pensacola to Redline Performance, where we picked up their ROT3000 rotisserie. Now, if you haven't done business with Redline Performance, their Pensacola facility operates as their distribution center for here in the U.S. And of course, you can go pick yours up from there if you want to, meet the nice folks that are out there. Or you could have that delivered to your place directly. Now understand, everything I'm going to present and talk about today is from the hobbyist perspective. In other words, if you're a professional and you own your own shop, you probably already know or have an idea of what's going on with this thing. However, for the hobbyist who's looking at diving into things and looking at what you get, well, this video is here to help you. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I do, like with what kind of lubricants you need to think about, and maybe should you use any kind of LocTite on your product, and then of course how to assemble this thing. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with that. Now, when you go and pick it up from Redline, they give it to you in this box, and everything that you ordered gets in the box. So if you order any of their extra supports for, say, like the front of our Mopar and the rear leaf springs shackle, then they will supply that for you. Now, my understanding is some of those supports need to be modified, so you need to be prepared to modify those to fit your vehicle. And they have a whole selection of others as well, so it's a good idea to give them a call or check out their website, and I'll give that information for you here in a few moments. Now, when we went over there, it was just a matter of driving their box from forklift into our trailer, and we had, what size is that trailer?
5x10.
We have a 5x10 utility trailer that is sufficient to handle this need. Now, the box itself, you see here on the label, and it's probably playing that video in the background right now, is about 233 kilograms, and gross weight about 254 kilograms, plus the extra supplies or parts that you add into yours. So figure about 500-ish pounds is what you'll be dealing with. So when you get yours home, you can either do like we did and have a pallet jack, or you can unload the parts individually, which is part of the steps you need to do anyways. So let's go ahead and get to it. Now, this is a manual from their website, and the manual is pretty decently laid out. It's really good for their parts list. And there's just a couple of different things that we want to bring attention to. All right, the first thing is, as I'm looking over it, is that this product is designed, in other words, if you use it outside the design process, that's on you. It's designed for repairing and restoring cars and small boats. It can be lifted 49 inches and rotate, well, pretty much all around. Again, treating your car like a turkey, right? And they have a good demonstration on their website with videos about how you can rotate this thing and what it can handle and such. It says do not rate the capacity and what have you. And you can read that on your own. Again, we printed this from their website, and I believe there's probably one inside the box that I haven't opened yet. And of course, in here, we have step-by-step directions. Now, here's what I do want to make note of. The first thing we're going to do is exactly what it says here. It is recommended that before beginning the assembly process, you lay out everything, alrighty, and in an open area, clean area, well, as clean as we can get around here, and then separate into different groups, everything from nuts, bolts, arms, and any other pieces. So we're going to go ahead and get that done in a moment. And of course, it starts by going ahead and dictating what steps you should be doing and such. Now, obviously, we all learn and follow directions in different ways, but they do have a blow-up diagram here with all of their individual bolt listings to show you what one side should look like, and of course a blow-up of all the different parts, and of course a parts description inside the manual itself. And then of course it talks about putting on your car if you've never done that before, but we're going to wait to do that on the next episode. So let's go ahead and get started with step number 1. Quick note about space and putting this together. Obviously, I'm dealing with just a little bit of lack of space, not because, well, I don't have everything laid out. It's because I'm using other things at the time. Example, I wanted to finish up some of the painting over here that we had spoken about on our last episode of Project Fastfish. By the way, if you want to see the restoration of Project Fastfish, make sure you check out the link that I'm going to shoot above right now. But right now that's being utilized. It'll probably be better to utilize some of that space to help with the project together. I could have used the totes over there, but to bring everything to chest level or mid level. However, that wasn't strong enough to box up, and I could have re-screwed it, but I'm like, you know what? No, it's fine. Let's just sit that and be by itself. So I will be using this area to put everything together, which means I'll be bending down a little bit and what have you. Obviously, use your space as you see fit and as you have it. I also have this space up here, but it's not big enough to put some of these larger items on and try to put everything together with. In fact, I'll probably break out some plastic sawhorses here in a few moments. However, moving forward, we do have everything we need. And the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and put together our main bottom assembly here with the cross support that goes across here. So that's going to be this piece along with this piece that's still in the bubble wrap here. And we're going to go ahead and put on the casters. In fact, if you go over here and look at the instructions, that's exactly what it tells us to do next. Step 1, start by bolting arm 41. You have to look at the blow up to see what 41 is, but that's the piece down here along with 34, and then attach the casters. Obviously the big casters go here and the small casters go there. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So far, so good on this. Just a couple of quick notes. Note number 1, there is a welded seam right back here where this bar here attaches to this bar here. So it might change the articulation here, which is fine. Does this need to be flattened? No, remember, you got the roller up there and you'll have an adjustment that'll be attached later. So all we did was snug these down here and got those pretty tight, and we'll do the final tightening after it gets on the ground. I went ahead and added the casters per the instructions, and then I went ahead and tightened these with the impact as well as those right here. Again, here's where things are at. As you can see, things are looking pretty good so far. We have the bottom assembly taken care of, and that is 2 different bottom assemblies done. Now, when you're assembling this, make sure you put the roller towards, well, the connector stand, okay, and or the connector itself. This will be where the connector bar goes to the other side. I'm not going to do that yet because I don't need it stretched across the floor yet, and I'm not too worried about balancing and such, okay. But this wheel is here, so you want to make sure that when you attach the next assembly, these are on the proper side. Again, this one also had the weld in there, so you can probably see between there. If I get the shot, there it is, where it slightly sticks out. Now, I could have ground that down, but I don't think it really would have mattered. And I think it's actually good that this has a little bit of tilt to it so it can rely on this bar itself. So things are good. I went ahead and snugged everything down. No need for LocTite so far because everything had a lock washer. Again, where anything does not have a lock washer, and it will not be a temporary, in other words, it's going to be a permanent thing, you want to make sure it's locked, at least with a lock washer or thread tight. There's no reason to use both. So the next step says here, all right, attach the connecting bar. We're not going to worry about that because I don't need it stretched across just yet, and we're going to have plenty of balance in the middle. So right now they're slightly off balance-wise, so they're kind of prone to falling backwards. So right now what we're going to do is, without the connecting bar, as shown here, it says insert 24 lifting stands into each side, as well as 25 bottle jacks into each side and connect. All right, so looking over here, we have the lifting stand 24, right? And then, of course, the bottle or the bottle jack, which are in the boxes. So we're going to go ahead and attach those, and it looks like we'll be going into part 14 very soon. So let's take a step forward here. It says insert number 16 stand into 14, the rotating assembly. Sure enough. So we're going to worry about all of that here coming up. So let's get that taken care of real fast. We're going to combine step 4 and 5. Again, step 5 says insert 16 stand into 14 rotating stand on both ends, being careful to line up the bolt holes and not cross thread the bolt. Easy enough. Now, if you're watching this video saying, hey, Mike, what is that blue stuff you're putting on certain bolts, but you're only using it on certain bolts and not other bolts? Well, this is simple Threadlocker Blue medium strength. Now, Threadlocker Blue is recommended for tool or bolts or fasteners that are 1/4 to 1 inch, alrighty? That's obviously the diameter of the thread head, and it helps prevent loosening over time. Now, you can get this in blue or you can get this in red. Red is the higher strength one or for more structural. But for putting on the things where I'm putting this on at, this should suffice. So far, so good. You saw in the time-lapse mode where we got this all assembled. I went ahead and assembled it straight up and down, but I could have flipped it on its side and done it this way as well. Probably would have been a little bit simpler had I chose to done that. Now, something I didn't do, but I probably should have, that would have made this process a whole lot easier, is I should have taken a moment to undo this right here. And there's another video that explains this really, really well here on their website, or there on their website, and I highly encourage you to check that video out. And it's the Is It Worth It video. And the guy does a really good job of explaining what happens here. This mechanism right here is on a screw or an inclined plane, okay? And what it does is it helps lift this assembly. Now, obviously, it's sitting sideways, right? Because here's the stand, right? But if this was in its down position, this would be, you know, down. And then, of course, you would put your angles and such up here, etc. Okay? I'm not going to mount those just yet because we got to get this on the car. However, what this assembly does is it kind of acts as a bearing. And these are bearings. I mean, that's what these things do. And what would effectively happen is I'm going to take this bolt off here in just a minute. And then I'm going to run this or slide this down. Okay, so I got to twist this a whole bunch to slide it down. And then basically half of this assembly will go on one side, half of it will go on the other. Okay, as he explained, you got a washer, you got your bearing top or your race, your bearing axle itself, your other bearing race, and then your washer there, and the same assembly down here. There, it's obviously divided into two. You got your top half and your bottom half, and of course your nut snugs up against the washer down here. Now I'm going to go ahead and lube this right here with some silicone lubricant, and I got a video segment for that after just a second. I'll show that to you, but I'm going to go ahead and undo this, slide this down, and get that assembled while it's in this position, and then go ahead and get the other one, the other side, to this point as well. Hey Mike, what do you recommend for using on exposed bearings like you have here on the Rotisserie? Mike, I am so glad you asked that. Well, here what we have some silicone lubricant, okay? You don't want to use anything like a white lithium grease because that attracts dirt and grime. And while this isn't an advertisement for a PB Blaster, it's just for the silicone part as you see there. This really works as a way to keep the items protected without attracting all that grime and debris. Of course, when you buy one of these, you get this little straw dealy to really make it fit in, well, get to the surfaces where you want it. Now, if you can't read what the label says, it says it's great for rubber window seals, winches, cables, pulleys, storm shutters, windows, locks, door tracks, bushings, bearings, chains, sport and outdoor equipment, snow shovels, and of course, lawn equipment. Hey, snow shovel, that would be really cool if you're not living here in Florida. Alrighty. And then, of course, it's great for plastic and such as well. And unlike WD-40, which is just a standard lube, again, that would attract the dirt. And, of course, on a rotisserie, you're going to be slinging a lot of that debris, especially when you're doing grinding and things like this. So this is a definite must for any exposed bearing in anything that you use in your shop. Recapping the instructions here, we have step 5, insert 16 stand into the rotating stand on both ends, being careful to line up the bolt holes and not cross thread the bolt. So exactly what they're talking about here is basically getting this rotating part here through the stand, and of course getting this onto that part there. There is just the pin that goes there, and of course you got your black, lack of better terms, the retainer cuff there, okay? And then I showed you the video here that attaches the set screw, or that that's basically this all thread here down into the bar itself. Moving forward here, we have attach the steel feet to the main stand with the supplied 35 set screw for added strength. So that's where you're supposed to use these little screws at there. These little, I'll show you here on my extra parts bin. Right now I just have the standard screw in there, but we could change that easily so that you have that here. And then of course you get, after that, straight into the blow up itself. After that you have your parts list, etc. So let's see how ours turned out over here. You already saw on the previous segment how everything went together. This here is a stabilizer. It is not going to move once that is basically out. So the extra thread in that angled piece allows you to kind of give these a better set. So when you are rotating the car, not moving it, but just rotating the assembly, it allows you to kind of move the car around. But there's plenty of footprint to move it just as the car sits on the stand itself. Again, if it is balanced right. But you can see here everything is kind of set in place here. So let's kind of review where things are at. Now I did not connect the bar that goes across here. I'm going to show you that in the extra parts here in just a few moments. But basically starting here, alrighty, we have our, well, this is our rotating assembly. This is the part that goes around and swings around. When balanced, this should spring freely. Obviously right now it's slightly counterweighted because obviously it weighs more down here than it does there. So basically we have this assembly here, the pivot here, and of course you just saw me talk about this all thread and how it goes down to the bearings there, where it was easier to kick it sideways to work on it. And of course here's our cuff, here's our pin, and of course our release up here. And then of course everything else you saw me talk about previously. You do have a convenient storage place for your jack bar, and of course the bar that goes into here to help rotate that. And that was really nice because it was a nice solid piece, as you see right here. This guy just goes into there. Over here we have our, I'm not going to say leftover parts because these will all be used. Of course, we got our stabilizing stands here, and these are our cross supports. Those are the inner cross supports, so those go inside here and you can bolt those down. And of course, here is any leftover hardware to help secure those, and of course, your feet itself. And then of course, once we get the car on there, we will need to modify our pieces here to help get onto Project Fast Fish. So that wraps it up for this episode of Mike's Motorworx. If you want to see what's been going on with Project Fast Fish, which is in the blue tarp behind me, don't forget to click the link above and check out all that's happened thus far. And of course, on our next episode, it's going to be about Project Fast Fish as we move the vehicle to the rotisserie. You don't want to miss it because we got to get it off the yellow jig that it was put on several years ago. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If I can do it, you can do it. Have a great one, folks.